Hello everyone, Jule here. If you're looking for a roguelite or roguelike games for Switch, then you come to the right place. Some of you probably already watched my other roguelite or roguelike games list, but unfortunately some of the games are not available on Switch. Alright then, let's get started. Risk of Rain 2 does a remarkable job of feeling almost exactly like its predecessor, right down to many of the same upgrades, characters, and enemies making a return appearance. The story is about as basic as it gets, simply following the exploits of a ragtag group of misfits as they attempt to escape from an alien planet. You start out each level by crashing down onto the map, and your goal is to find the next teleporter as quickly as possible so you can progress to the next level. The distribution of upgrades is random, so your experience from one run to the next will never be the same. Unfortunately, you kinda have to play with the Pro controller, since the control for Joy-Con can be frustrating most of the time.
Expired.
Despite some technical issues, Void Bastards is surprisingly a competent roguelike title. It's a slick and addictive sci-fi shooter with a unique comic book art style, distinguished sense of humor, and some truly unsettling enemy design to contend with as you traverse the spaceships in search of upgrades, loot, and spare parts. The game is generous enough in giving you lots of information about numbers and types of enemy before you start, and before long, you will find yourself knowing how to handle the core gameplay loop. However, that's not to say this is an easy game. Enemies are dangerous and mistakes will be severely punished. Overall, this unique mix of FPS and roguelike offers a level of freedom and tactical decision that many bigger budget games are often failing to comprehend. Fury Unleashed combines the addictive gameplay loops of the likes of Dead Cells with old-school run-and-gun action platforming from the classic Metal Slug series. The controls are excellent, the vibrant comic book visuals are great, and the RNG adds the right amount of chaos to a game where player skill is the main focus. The slightly slower loading times and small frame rate issues is somewhat of a letdown, but it's not ruining your overall experience. Overall, Fury Unleashed is a hugely satisfying addition to the roguelite genre.
Before leaving the orbit, it is
Everspace feels like a game that was designed for people who like faster than light but want to do the action instead of ship management. With gratifying space combat, an addictive roguelite core loop, and even some entertaining writing along the way, it performs admirably on Nintendo's console. The segmented sector-by-sector gameplay is perfect for on-the-go play. It employs its genre better than most and manages not to feel too repetitive even as you die over and over again. It may take a while to get a grip on its control scheme and gameplay mechanic, but once you get the hang of it, the game becomes a lot more fun.
To take down these gods.
Invisible Ink is a game that combines stealth, turn-based strategy, and roguelike elements into one wholesome package. The game requires a high level of planning and strategy to succeed, especially because of the roguelike aspect. When you play cautiously, you can play the enemy like a fiddle. However, screw-ups do happen, and when they do, the situation can change drastically. This unforgiving style is compounded by the seemingly unfairness of the fight. You are outnumbered, outgunned, and always forced to make a quick decision. Of course, the game is not for everyone, but if you're looking for a new and fresh challenging experience, then why not give it a try? Afterbirth Plus is the ultimate version of The Binding of Isaac that include all the DLC and expansions. There are deep religious overtones throughout the game. Most enemies are demonic in nature, and characters are mostly biblical references. The game is quite short, but if you combine all the 19 endings, multiple characters, and additional content, you're probably going to put tons of hours into this game. It's ideal for a short burst or longer sessions of handheld play, and the sort of title that only gets more interesting the more you play it. Curse of the Dead Gods will bear plenty of comparisons to the excellent Hades game. But in its own right, the game has a lot of unique features to offer in the action RPG roguelite genre. The major and most interesting mechanic is the use of curses, caused by corruption as you make your way through the temples. These effects are random and game-changing, but a bit of a double-edged sword, as they can make the game harder for you or for the enemies. The game is hard, but rewards are frequent and plentiful. Winning a run or being able to purchase a few of the pricier upgrades offers extreme satisfaction, making you feel like a true adventurer. All in all, Curse of the Dead Gods joins the elite of roguelite games for Nintendo Switch and deserves a big deal of attention from all the players. Games as good as Enter the Gungeon don't come along very often. With satisfying combat, random levels, and an endless supply of inventive weapons, items, and secrets, it's always a total joy to play. It also helps that Enter the Gungeon doesn't take itself at all seriously. There's a rich seam of humor running through everything, from the boss and item names to countless cheeky pop culture references. It looks great too, with an expressive pixel art style and fluid animation. Local co-op also makes the cut, though you will need a second pad or set of Joy-Cons to play it. Darkest Dungeon is a game that delights in making you feel wretched, whether through its brutal difficulty or its oppressively bleak atmosphere. Sanity plays an integral part in Darkest Dungeon. This roguelike RPG treats your party's mental well-being as a stat that's as important to monitor as health or status. The tension of the situation steadily decreases their spirit, as do frequent battles and random events. Despite all of that, the game rarely feels unfair. Proper preparations and knowledge of what you're getting into will generally get you through to the end safely. Slay the Spire is an energetic fusion of card games and roguelikes. With a growing library of roguelikes and card-based strategy games in the market, game developers need to find new ways to stand out from the crowd, and Slay the Spire succeeds in this regard. You choose one of the three characters, Ironclad, Silent, or Defect, each with their own special passive bonus, relic, and unique set of cards with which to gradually build your deck as you attempt to traverse the procedurally generated floors. Massively inventive sets of cards combine majestically into endless combination of strategies, enabling players to strategize endlessly against the enemies that stand between themselves and victory. Cadence of Hyrule is the Legend of Zelda and Crypt of the Necrodancer crossover we never knew we needed. The charm and charisma of the Legend of Zelda, fused with the rhythmic gameplay of Crypt of the Necrodancer, gives life to a hybrid that maintains the essence while also offering a new and fresh take of both games. The game was very challenging. You will likely die several times before you learn basic enemy patterns. I mean, imagine playing chess and you only have a second to consider your move as your enemies come towards you to the tempo of the music whether you move or not. It's tough at first, but once you get the hang of it, you will be glad that you decided to play this game. Spelunky 2 follows a premise much like the first game, though here you take the role of Anna, the daughter of the explorer from the original. Similarly, Spelunky 2 follows almost exactly the same gameplay structure as its predecessor. Your goal is simply to make it through all the levels while collecting as much loot as you possibly can along the way. Don't explore enough and it will be harder for you to face much rougher challenges on the next level. Take too long and you will be hounded by deadly creatures who will end your run instantly if it catches you. Sure, some people may be put off by the steep difficulty, but for fans of roguelites and challenging platformers, this game is highly recommended. Into the Breach is a fantastic example of how you can play around with an established genre. Combining turn-based strategy and roguelike elements, and you got a game that will make you put countless hours into it. The game is difficult, and you will find yourself on your heels most levels trying to stay a step ahead of the enemies. The feeling of intellectual superiority you feel when you outsmart the aliens is incredible and will keep you playing through every loss you will experience. Undoubtedly, one of the best features of the game is unlocking new mechs and creating your own squads. Mechs have several upgrades and customization options, as well as interchangeable pilots with various special abilities, and you unlock a wide roster of pilots the more you play. The visuals are sharp, the loading times are smooth and on par with the PC version, and now you can play this game on the go. Dead Cells manages to fuse Metroidvania and roguelike together in a meaningful way, creating an addictive, challenging, and fun experience. The story in Dead Cells is kept to a minimum because the gameplay is the main star of the show. Combat is fast-paced and fluid, favoring aggressive tactics but careful play. The weapons you use are divided into 3 subclasses: brutality, tactics, and survival. And it's true wise mixtures of different weapon types and stats that you stand the best chance of survival. On the presentation side of things, Dead Cells absolutely astounding, showcasing intricately detailed and well-animated pixel art that looks fantastic in motion. There's dozens if not hundreds of hours of content available here, and it's remarkable how fresh Dead Cells can stay through all those hours. Hades is no less than an absolute masterpiece, easily a contender for Supergiant's finest work yet and one of the best games on Switch. It combines stellar characters and world building with satisfying combat and a progression system that keeps you hooked. The general gameplay loop has you going from room to room, taking on a number of enemies and challenges before facing a boss and moving to a more difficult location. What also managed to keep things fresh were the unique and random ways that each run can be changed up, like getting the chance to earn more coins or even a new boss showing up at the end of one of the worlds. Even after a lot of hours put into Hades, you still feel like you're constantly seeing new things. Overall, Hades is an absolute essential for fans of the roguelike genre. Alright boys, I think that's it for today. I know there are still other roguelite or roguelike games that I haven't mentioned yet, so how about sharing your best Switch roguelite or roguelike games that probably deserve the spot in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss another great list. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Peace!